What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Rideshare Hub. My name is Greg Wave, and I'm giving you guys today my $20,000 Uber vehicle. The first thing I'm going to say is that you shouldn't ever get a vehicle this expensive for Uber and Lyft. You should aim more around the 5 to 7 range. The reason that I have a brand new vehicle that I'm using is that I actually had a bad experience with driving full time, and I burned through my last vehicle and I had to get a new vehicle. Long story short, I had negative equity, so I couldn't get a used car. I had to get a new car. I actually have a whole video out about that whole process, so keep that in mind. But here is my Nissan Sentra. She is a 2019. She is very freaking blue. But I wanted to give you guys a quick tour of the car because I think in general the Sentra is a great car to use for Uber and Lyft driving. I just wouldn't go as new as I obviously had to go. But I'm going to give you guys a quick tour of the car, show you, it's an awesome little car. I'd always thought of the Sentra as a really small car, but when I test drove it, I was like, this actually isn't half as bad as I thought it would be. So let's take a peek. So I don't know how much you guys can really see from the trunk, but there's actually a lot more space back here. It's my jumper cables. There's a lot more space back there than I actually thought there would be. Obviously that's huge because you get a lot of rides with luggage. Like, I've met a lot of people that I think have had Priuses that have told me they've had to decline certain airport rides because of how much baggage they had. It didn't fit in the trunks. It didn't fit in the trunks, and so they had to actually get a different car or turn down the ride. So I was actually stunned that the Sentra actually has like a lot of great space. So here's the back seats. Obviously for some degree I haven't kept it the most clean, but like for me, I'm 6'2" and I can sit very comfortably back here, no problem at all. I have, a good amount of leg room, obviously, and that seats, the front seat is actually at a pretty normal rate. So that was another thing I liked, is that it was pretty spacious for a smaller car. I technically downgraded from an Altima to the Sentra, and, it hasn't felt all that much different of a drive for me, and in general, it's going to be a lot cheaper than the Altima. So that's a really good thing to keep in mind. So as you guys can see, good amount of space back here. A nice comfortable ride. I'd show you guys the hood, but there's nothing too flashy under there. Just a small little straight four. But getting in here, like, again, for me, like I said, I'm 6'2", I'm not like a giant, but I'm tall enough that, like, there's a lot of cars that are just too uncomfortable for me to ride in. So obviously this is, a great, like, I'm very comfortable, and I've really loved this car. It's been extremely comfortable. So some other cool things about the Nissan, specifically just this version being newer, is like I have the little fancy screen here. So what's cool about this is I have Apple CarPlay, which means that if I plug my phone into the USB port, I can actually run my music and my few different apps. Like, they have navigation apps that'll come up on here so you can pull up your GPS. Now, so what I like doing is I like actually pulling it up on the Apple CarPlay and then using that for my navigation. You can use Google Maps or iMaps. I use Google Maps because it's technically what you're supposed to do if you do a route like that, as far as using CarPlay, because it's Google Maps is what's partnered with the ride-sharing platforms. Or maybe it's just Lyft, but I believe technically you can use Google Maps for both. So I like pulling it up on this big screen, but it's really cool because I just plug my phone in the USB port and my music automatically comes on. I've got my navigation there. The only thing I don't have is the Uber and Lyft app. Those notifications I have to go back to my phone to do. But everything else works perfectly great. So that's obviously great. And then just some other stuff with the, main screen. What I really like is the climate control. They also have dual air conditioners. So, like, for instance, like for me, like, I get hot so easily. Like, I sweat my freaking ass off when I drive for Uber and Lyft. So, like, I like a ton of cold air. And even though I'm in Phoenix, a super hot area, there's so many people here that always ask me to turn down the AC. So having the dual AC control is so much bigger than I thought, because a lot of my drivers are going to understand what I'm saying here. Like, when you're driving like for a good amount of hours, the way you feel temperature wise in the car is your customers aren't going to feel anything like that. I like it really, really brisk, but they usually get cold way too quick because it'll be like an ice box in here. And then a lot of times I've had days too where like I was running the air a lot and I got cold, but then they would get in the car and they would want the air and I'd already be so freaking cold I almost wouldn't want to turn it down. So having the dual control and being able to switch that, awesome feature. Some other really cool things about the car, like one of the things I like the most, let's see if we can show this, is I don't know if you guys can actually see down here, but that has a little port for the for a phone charger. And so what's really great about it for me is that, like, if people want to charge their phone, I don't need to unplug mine. I don't need to stretch their cord all the way up here. And I know you guys have experienced that, but they can actually plug it in right back there. And it just makes it a lot easier for me. You know, it's one of those things. Sorry guys, I'm adjusting my little mount thing I'm holding, but it makes it a lot easier for me when I'm driving and I don't have to be handing back cords all the time. Like, they usually see it almost right away and they know, you know, obviously to plug their shit in. It's not like they need to ask me to do that. So yeah, the car in general, it gets about 35 miles per gallon. So obviously great gas mileage, which again, I'm not shocked. It's like the tiniest little engine. But so great gas mileage, which is obviously something you're going to want. So the downside to it is it's just too new, way too pricey. Like, I drive this like maybe 10, 15 hours a week for Lyft and Uber. Like I used to drive, you know, upwards of 40, 50 hours, but I won't drive this car that much on it because it's going to depreciate way too fast if I start busting out a crap load of miles or of trips on it, you know. So but the gas mileage is great. It's also got like an eco mode and a sport mode, so I can turn on the eco mode to save like an additional 1 mile per gallon. And all that really means is that it doesn't let me accelerate as fast. So the eco mode just doesn't let you get quick speeds. It makes you take slower time, which allows, you know, you to use less gas. But yeah, so there's a lot of great features on this car. It's got a lot of safety features and hands-off features, which is another thing that I really, really like for ride sharing, because you know, when you do this day after day after day and all day, oh my gosh, I am sorry. But when you do this day after day after day, a lot of times you're driving and a lot of times people are swerving too close to you, or you accidentally swerve a little bit. And so this thing has like all these different sensors that just go bananas if I'm too close to someone. And so a lot of times it, you know, keeps me, you know, really centered, and I hear it and I'm like, okay, I got to focus, you know? And so I think that's a great feature to have as a driver, because I've noticed a lot of times I'm just spacing out, you know? I'm just in my thoughts and I'm not realizing I'm veering a little bit too far to the left. So having something like that, I think the safety features are like awesome. It's got a rear view camera, which obviously is, you know, right on the screen. I don't even know if I remember how to back up a car without a rear view camera anymore. So obviously I just absolutely love that feature, but everything else is pretty great, you know, great on gas mileage. Good amount of space, you know, obviously it's not too fast, but you're not going to want a car like that for Uber and Lyft anyways. So what are you guys really going to be looking for when you look for a car? Well, the main thing is obviously the price point. If you're going to be driving a lot, I wouldn't ever buy a car more than $6,000, because the depreciation is just going to be so killer. So you want to drive something that you know you can put like a lot of miles on and do whatever you want with it, because with Uber and Lyft, like that's what's going to happen. You're going to drive the hell out of these cars. You're going to do a lot of city driving and you're going to put a crazy amount of miles on it. So like getting a good car that's reliable, but a car that you know you can beat up a little bit is always going to be a good move, because you're going to beat it up a lot doing Uber and Lyft. So what did this look like total? You know, the car total was about 18.5. The unfortunate thing was my last vehicle, I did so much full-time driving on it that I actually had to absorb a lot of that negative equity from the last loan. So I'll actually pay upwards of $25K on this car. Another really good example of why, if you're gonna be a full-time driver, you should 100% have a cheaper car, not a newer car. 100%, because if you have a newer vehicle, you're just gonna put crazy amounts of miles on it and it's gonna depreciate so fast and you'll have negative equity, and then you gotta get gap coverage. I go over that in a different video, but it's just something to stay really conscious of, guys. So yeah, in general, it's a great car. I was really happy with it. I haggled with them a lot, and I would recommend that if you guys find yourself in a scenario like me where you're forced to buy new because you had negative equity, never buy a car the first day you walk into a car lot. Tell them what you're looking for. They'll probably tell you they can't meet it. So walk away, tell them you're going to go shop around somewhere, and you know what they'll do? Same thing they did to me. They called me in 2 days and they said, what do we got to do to get you in here to buy this Sentra? So I told them what I wanted to pay per month. They were quoting me at like $430 a month, and I knew it was a high car payment because of my last loan, but I said, I don't want to do it. I said, if you guys get me down to $390 a month, I'll buy the car. So they got me down to $390 a month. So I went back and I was like, let's do it. And so now I have her. So yeah, guys, that is my $20,000 Uber car video. I hope you guys enjoy it. Be sure to follow the channel, subscribe, give it a thumbs up, and I'll have some more stuff for you guys soon. See you later.